this all over my lid, and you can feel it getting tacky, so it holds on to whatever you apply over it, and it works perfectly, especially if you're using shimmers, because it immediately clings onto the product and the pigmentation is insane. Next, he uses the shade Oriental Pearl, which is a beautiful emerald green, and he uses this to saturate the entire lid with his finger. And as you can see, the pigmentation is insane and there's very little fallout because the product is immediately sticking onto the base. At the crease, he uses Your Majesty, so I'm going to be doing the same. And I'm using a brush similar to what he used. So he first places the shade in the outer corner and the crease using a flat, fluffy brush. Mine is from Doe Color. And then he blends it out and softens it using a blending brush. And I'll be doing the same. And the blending brush that I'll be using is a small one from Hip Dot. After softening it, he goes back into Your Majesty, and this time he uses it to deepen just the outer third of the lid. The brush that I'm using is a small fluffy brush that I got in a Rimmel palette. It's just very fine and precise, so I like to use that. And then again, I'm going with my blending brush to soften everything up. To deepen the outer corner, he's using Harmony, which is a black eyeshadow. So I'm going to be doing the same using a small definer brush from Colourpop. I'm going to take very little color at a time and build on top of it, because especially with black eyeshadow, if you take too much at one time, then blending becomes a nightmare. And then I'm taking a little bit more of Your Majesty to blend out the edges and to soften it. In the inner corner, he's again using his watercolor, which I don't have, so I'm going to be using Luminous again. I first applied it with a small flat shader brush from Colourpop, and now I'm blending with a pencil brush again from Colourpop. At this point, he applies the emerald shade one more time to brighten everything up, so I'm going to be doing the same. The next step in the process is to line the lash line. Kashif is using the Kashi's eyeliner, and I'll be using the one from Ofra in black. This is also a gel liner, so as he explains, we're going to keep it really dark in the outer corner and line the rest of the lash line, keeping it very close to the lash line. The eyelashes that he was using is also from Kashi's, and they wing out and are pretty wispy in the center, so you don't miss out on the eye makeup. And the closest one that I had that looked like that is from Carity, and this is in the style Ace. But before we use lashes, let's go ahead and curl our naturals and apply some mascara. The mascara that I'm using is my favorite Bad Girl Bang from Benefit Cosmetics. Before applying any eyeshadow in the lower lash line, he lined the waterline with the same gel liner. So I'm going to be using the Ofra gel liner once again to line my waterline. And then I'm going to be using Oriental Pearl in my lower lash line. And I'm going to keep the inner third open for a different eyeshadow, but for the rest of my lower lash line, I'm going to be using the beautiful Emerald Shimmer. The brush that I'm using is a flat, fluffy brush from Folklore. To highlight the inner third, I'm going to be using the shade Luminous again, but before that, I'm going to be spritzing some setting spray onto my flat definer brush from Hip Dot, and then dip it into Luminous and apply it in the inner third of my lower lash line. And we'll finish up with a coat of mascara in the lower lash line. You can stop at this, or as he explains, you can add a little bit of shimmer just to give that extra pizzazz. I don't really have the shimmer that he's using, so I'm going to be using a liquid glitter from Folklore, just very little right there, and that's pretty much it, just to add that extra something. And that finishes up the eye makeup. Now let's finish up the